Today we're going to be talking about natural immunity, all the things you should be focusing on right now as we go into cold and flu season so that you're not worried, you're not panicked, you don't have to let the psychological fear or the fear of being restricted hold your immune system back. So let's dive into some of the more common things that you could be doing right now. And these things, by the way, they're free. They don't cost you anything at all, and they can be extremely beneficial, and we're going to dive into why that is. So you can see in this slide here, we've got spending time outside. Now, depending on where you live, the farther north you are, the more rainy it is, that might be a little bit more challenging. But remember that outdoor time, that helps us in a number of different ways. There are a number of immune supporting chemicals that we're exposed to from natural agents in the outdoors, but we also get sunshine, which helps us make melatonin. Now, one of the really unique things that's happened over the past 3 years is prior the pandemic, we have had really very little ability to make claims on a lot of the nutrition and the nutrients to support immune function. But because of the pandemic, so many research studies have been published and done in humans supporting actual things you can do with the disease that shall not be named. One of them is melatonin. Now, you can make your own melatonin getting sunshine. Just going outside, not wearing sunglasses, you're going to make melatonin through the optics of your eyes. You'll also make more vitamin D, which, again, thanks to the pandemic, we now have so much research on the benefits with vitamin D. Maximizing sleep. This has long been known that sleep deprivation suppresses immune function and can incorporate or can increase the risk for developing numerous types of infectious diseases. So sleep becomes very important during this time. You know, the best time of day or the best frame of reference for sleep is, simply put, is go to bed when it's dark, wake up when the sun hits your window. If you don't have the ability to do that, minimum time frame for sleep is 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. This is when your body heals and repairs and recovers itself. And so if you're missing that window, if you go to bed at midnight, for example, you're missing 50% of that window, that can add up over the course of time. So try to hit bed appropriately. Exercise, not too much, not too little, just the right amount, but exercise becomes a critical component to building your immune function. So the next thing on the list is exercise. Now, not too much, but also not too little. You've got to find balance here. A lot of people will overdo their exercise, but many people are sedentary, and that sedentary behavior contributes to weight gain and obesity, which is a major culprit for increasing the risk of infectious diseases. We'll talk about shortly, so we'll do a little bit deeper of a dive in that. And then the chemicals. Now, one of the really big exposures to chemicals that people have been getting over the last several years is with the use of masks. The masks, and this is interesting because the NIH, the National Institute of Health here in the US, just published a major study on the massive amount of chemical exposures that people can get by wearing masks all the time. Remember, there are chemicals like VOCs, volatile organic compounds, and perfluoroalkyl substances. These things, some research studies have shown that they can actually suppress immune function and increase the risk for things like cancer and other diseases. So you've got to be careful there as well. Avoiding chemicals as much as possible is a great thing to do to help your immune system stay strong. And then clean eating. Of course, you know, the crux of it all is good diet. If your diet's poor, what you put in is what you get out. And so if you're eating fast food, processed food, empty calorie food on a regular basis, this is going to deplete your system of nutrition, and it's going to make you more susceptible. And we can look at certain types of immune assaults. You can see here on the left-hand side, you've got a number of different things that we could kind of put in the category of things that can harm your immune system or things that can stress your immune system, one being food sensitivities. And so, you know, in this situation, at least in my experience, one of the biggest ones is gluten as a food sensitivity. And we know that, for example, there's some research studies coming out now. Scientists believe that the massive amount of people that had COVID, because COVID can damage the GI tract, they're actually anticipating an increase in the amount of celiac diagnoses over the next decade because of the amount of people who had damage to their GI tracts from COVID. So keep that in mind. We actually have a really good article on this topic, how the gluten-free diet can actually help people with long COVID recover. There have been a number of different research studies that have shown some pretty unique and interesting data points on going gluten-free for those of you who maybe have had COVID but aren't recovering as well, not getting over that hump. So you might want to check that out. We'll put a link below the video in the description for you as well. Then we have, obviously, viruses can impact the immune system. Chemical exposures, as I mentioned a moment ago, and then chronic stress. So those of you who have bad relationships or jobs that you don't enjoy, like those are big areas where people can pick up more stress. And then bacterial overgrowth or infections, parasitic as well, lack of sleep, which we talked a little bit about, yeast or fungus overgrowth. And also on this note, where we'll see a lot of people, I saw a lot of this, what we would call long COVID. We saw a lot of this in people that had mold in their homes, because mold toxins can also assault the immune system. The mycotoxins, if you will, are immunosuppressive. And so a lot of people we saw over the past year and a half that weren't recovering very well. We've actually found that those individuals were living in moldy homes, and that was part of why they weren't able to recover. So if you've got long COVID and you're trying to do your best and you've done everything and you've seen all the doctors, you might just consider this one as an element to investigate as well. So again, you've got different immune assaults, and this is multifactorial because many of these things can attack a person simultaneously. And then you have the things that reinforce your immune system shield, right? These are many of the nutritional elements here that will help your immune system work better. And so just generally speaking, and we'll get more into this, but vitamin D, vitamin A, zinc, vitamin C, NAC, B vitamins, probiotics, antioxidants, protein, selenium are all core key nutrients that help your immune system do its job, and without them, your immune system can suffer and not work as well. Now, we also have a number of different types of behaviors that can suppress the immune system. These shouldn't be anything new for you guys. Smoking, obviously. Excessive exercise is a big one for some folks, just doing too much. And then alcohol consumption. Alcohol is a diuretic that causes B vitamin and mineral deficiency, so it can impact or affect the nutrients that your immune system needs. But it also can impact and affect the liver, which you also need to have strong immune function. We also have medications that we know can suppress the immune system. Now, don't take this as me telling you to get off of any of your medications. This is not medical advice. However, if you're taking certain kinds of medications, you do want to be aware that certain ones can suppress the immune system, and it's important that you talk to your doctor about this. But one of them is steroids. Steroids are notorious for compromising immune function, and long-term steroid use can increase the risk for infection. And one of the side effects of steroids is that they deplete vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, magnesium, and calcium. And so it's, some would argue that it's the impact of the steroid. Some also would argue that it's the impact the steroid has on the nutritional status. Remember, nutrients regulate immune function, and that's why, taking these medicines long term, because they can impact the nutritional status, subsequently will impact your body's ability or your immune system's ability to function. We also have allergy medications, which, they're common ones. Over the counter, you've got the antihistamines, things like Benadryl and drugs like Singulair, etc. These will actually block aspects of the immune system, but they can also reduce stomach acid. And remember that stomach acid is one of our barriers to our immune system. It's an immune system barrier. It helps to kill viruses and bacteria and fungal microorganisms that you might be exposed to through eating your food. That stomach acid is there to prevent those microorganisms from getting deeper down and potentially making it to your bloodstream and causing infection. So very important to understand that allergy meds can cause this type of issue and lead to a reduction in immune strength. And then we know antibiotics. And this is kind of the irony here, is because sometimes when people they have an infection and they need the antibiotic, and so they take the antibiotic, but subsequently the antibiotic increases the risk. If you're taking it for bacteria, again, generally are what they're prescribed for. But what ends up happening is you increase your risk of yeast overgrowth, and then the yeast overgrowth is one of the things that we saw over here, if you recall, that was an assault or could be an assault right here, yeast overgrowth, an assault on the immune system. So the secondary consequence of using an antibiotic can actually contribute to an increased risk for yeast overgrowth, leading to that immune assault. But we also know that antibiotics, and this is not if you took a single dose. I'm talking about generally with all of these, it's not like one-time use to where your immune system just goes and shuts down. It's the chronicity of the use. The longer you're on them, the more of them you take repetitively, the more this can add up with antibiotics. One of the other side effects is you can get a depletion of B vitamins, which are very critical for immune system function as well. So remember, B vitamin deficiency, yeast overgrowth, two aspects to long-term antibiotic use. So those things are just medicines you want to look out for, especially if you're using them chronically.